Sharon and Newcastle too. We're talking, you're listening to 570 WKBN. WKBN.
So hurry home early, hurry on home. Mercedes fighting Bobby Chacon. Hurry home early, hurry on home. Mercedes fighting Bobby Chacon.
Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the pride of Youngstown, Ohio, the former lightweight champion of the world, future inductee into the International Boxing Hall of Fame, with a pro record of 29 wins, 23 by knockout. You're in the Boom Boom Room with Ray Boom Boom Mancini.
Hey. Welcome back to the Boom Boom Room. I'm your host, Ray Mancini, and I'm here with my cut man, Cornell Bang Bang Bogdan. Cornell, what's up, my brother?
Welcome back, Ray. How you feeling, man?
I'm feeling good, brother. Feeling good.
You're looking good.
I feel. Yeah, thank you.
We got a lot of things to get to tonight, including the fact that Ray has two actors coming on board. Nick Turturro, who you've known forever.
But I actually met him in 1983 when I was fighting, when I defended my title at Madison Square Garden. Nick was the doorman at the St. Maurice Hotel in New York, and that's where I stayed. And, you're Ray Mancini.
That's cool.
And he hadn't even done anything yet. He was an aspiring actor at that time.
And then we also have direct from Happy Days and Laverne and Shirley, Cindy Williams will be here. First lady.
How about that? Yes.
First lady on
the
Boom Boom.
And we actually she tried to get Penny Marshall on so we could have Laverne and Shirley. But we couldn't get Laverne, so we'll save her for another time.
I have a little bit of a rant to start off with. I know you had one last week. I just got to get this off my back because it kind of pisses me off, Ray. I've spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on Allman Brothers tickets. So the other day I said, "Hey, Ray, you want to go up with me to see Greg Allman at the Hard Rock Rocksino?" He said, "Sure, man. I love the Allmans, man. I worked out to them." So we go up there. I get us really good tickets, get us backstage. I said, "Ray's going to really like this," So we meet Greg, and all of a sudden, Ray and Greg Allman become like kindred spirits. It gets so bad that Greg is on stage. Never before has he said, "Hey, Cornell, how you doing out there?" No, from the stage he says, "Ray Boom Boom Mancini is here." Next thing I know, Greg's inviting you over to go fishing and making George.
Yeah, how about that? How about that?
God, I'm ill. I'm ill.
He is. You do any fishing? I said, "Well, I've done a little bit. I ain't much for the beach or for fishing. I mean, I'm a kid from the streets, but I've done it. But I'm one of these guys. If we don't catch anything in 20 minutes, like, come on, man, let's go. Let's get out of here."
I loved when he says maybe we can get an appointment.
Yeah,
with the fish.
yeah. He's never get an appointment with me. Tell him to jump on the hook.
Oh, that was beautiful, though.
Anyway, it was great. That was a great concert.
If you guys get a chance and you go on the Allman Brothers website or the Greg Allman Facebook page, see a picture of Greg and the Champ and all kinds of responses. So it's something else. We have a couple letters, and then we're going to get into your rant. But a 5-year-old, his name is Johnny Turner. He says, "When did Champ sign up for boxing?"
Johnny, how are you, my brother? AJ, tell Johnny I signed up when I was 15 years old because at that time there was only Junior Olympics and you had to be, at least before you go into Golden Gloves you had to be 16 or older. But the Junior Olympics they were going from I think 12, 13 to 15. So I signed up. I didn't know nothing about that until I found out, and it was I was just able to make the last year, and I was 15 years old, and I fought my first fight up in Cleveland. That was in April of 1976.
Wow.
And I won my first round knockout, and I was fighting as a southpaw back then. My first 6 amateur fights were as a southpaw, and my amateur trainer Ed Sullivan, who I'll love forever, who helped make me the fighter I was and helped make me the man I am. Ed Sullivan said, Ray, I'm not going to be able to get you any fights. Nobody wants to fight a southpaw anyway, but you're strong, you're aggressive, you punch hard. He said, I'm not going to be able to get you no fights. So we're going to have to try something. And he converted me. So I fought orthodox. So the rest of my amateur and my pro career, I fought as a righty. But the main reason too is when you fight as a southpaw, your strong hands in the back. You can use it for a straight left hand, an uppercut, but you don't get the most use out of it. By converting me, I used it as a jab, my left hook, left uppercut. You know, it was much more effective for me.
So if you see a youngster that wants to get into the gym, you would say wait until at least you're 14, 15 years old.
At least, you know, you're young enough that, you know, their bones aren't strong enough yet. And, you know, to be honest with you, and I'm, you know, but look, I didn't think of it much at that time, but even young kids, you know, when they're playing soccer and football, you know, Pop Warner football, the brain, you know, your brain's just not ready for it yet, man. Just ready, let it grow and mature a little bit more. And so at least 16 years old. At least 16 years old to go into the gym.
There you go. I love this next question. It says, The Good Son, The Life of Ray Boom Boom Mancini. Boom Boom, love your book. It's just incredible. What are the hardest part of the book for you to reflect upon? Did it bring back any bad memories? And that's from Helen and Warren.
Well, thank you for that question, Helen. And, when I read the book, at first, you know, it was hard to read, you know, because, I mean, it was, you know, it was very, you know, brought back a lot of memories, good memories as well as bad ones. And I guess the hardest part was for me is to read was my failure as a father and as a husband, my first marriage. And that's tough, you know, and when you have to, you know, talking about it and you're living is one thing, but you have to go back and reread it and then see that was hard. That was hard for me. And so I you know, but you know, me and my kids are good, thank God. I love them, they love me. We're tight. We got past all that stuff. And me and my ex-wife are very good friends, and we love each other. And you know, thank God we always stayed partners in our children's life. But I guess that's the hardest part for me.
The hardest part.
That was to read my failures.
What gave you the best memories?
I guess, you know, during my career, you know, my amateur as well as my professional career, you know, growing up and, you know, wanting to be a fighter for my father and then starting in the amateurs here in Youngstown. And the people, and I've said this and people are tired of me saying it. I'm hearing it maybe, but I'm never tired of saying it, that the people of Youngstown have had a large part of my success. They helped make me who I am. And I think the fight that really put me over the top, or really made me in this town, was my first fight in the open division of the Golden Gloves, 1978, and I fought a fighter who was a past champ. It was a champion 2 times over, one of the best fighters Youngstown ever had, Leslie Toney. And he was a lot older than me. I was 16. I think Leslie was in his early 20s, 23, 24. And slick fighter from Pete Tomez's Buckeye Oaks gym. And I jumped on him and, you know, I just stayed on top of him, and we were battling toe-to-toe. Kept him on the ropes all 3 rounds, and people, you know, went crazy. And I think that was the fight that made me here in Youngstown.
You know, one thing that's amazing about your career is the way you can recollect things, and I think that happens with a professional athlete. Andre Agassi, in tennis, can tell you every set, every point of every game he played. Can you remember every fight that vividly?
I can remember most of my fights, yes. Yeah. I could tell you what I remember specific things from the walk from the dress room to the ring.
There you go.
I can remember things like that.
Incredible.
Yeah. I mean, but, you know, the only fight I can't do that was the last fight against Greg Hagen. Because I had no business being there, and I knew that, you know. And I was in the dressing room telling Chuck Fagan and Tank DeCiccio, man, I don't want to be here, man. I ain't got no business being here. I don't want to do this. You know, and that's when Chuck said, yeah, it's a fine time to tell me now, ain't it? You know, and we knew it was a mistake. I mean, training camp was a good training camp, but going in that fight was bad. My first son and my second child were born, my son Leonardo, who's sitting with me here now, visiting. But I felt guilty. He was born in November. I went to training camp in January. And, you know, I just felt I was missing my children. And, you know, and then, you know, that song, Tears from Heaven, Eric Clapton's Tears from Heaven, talking about his son. That would come on 3 o'clock every day. I'd be getting dressed. I'd take a nap from 10 to 2, get up at 2 o'clock, you know, get a little bite to eat. Boom. Getting ready to gym at 3 o'clock. That song would come on, and I'd be crying my eyes out, bawling like a baby. And I have to go train and get ready to, you know, take on these guys, spar and things like that. And it just, my mind wasn't right. But that's the only good thing that come out of that fight, that it resolved it for me. That no more what ifs.
Right.
I don't have it.
Put the exclamation
Yes,
point on.
yes.
Yeah.
And sometimes, a lot of fighters, most fighters have to learn that way. You have to get beat good to know, that's it. As I told you, when I talked to Ray Leonard, Ray's a good friend of mine, and I always tease him, and we talk, and I said, Ray, I think I told you a story. I always tell him, Ray, you were probably the funniest fighter of my generation.
Mm-hmm.
You're just an American icon. I said, but it's time to hang out when Camacho knocks you out, because Camacho ain't knocking nobody out. He starts laughing. Oh man, you got to bring that up, don't you? And I think maybe I'm one of the few guys who could say it to him, because he just laughs. Because we could, fighters can do that to each other, because Camacho ain't knocking nobody out.
Yeah.
And Ray laughs. But sometimes that's how it's got to be done. Ali gets Larry Holmes. It was pitiful to see that.
Right.
That was, who was that guy? That wasn't Ali. Joe Louis when he fought Rocky Marciano.
Right.
Rocky Marciano cried when he knocked him out because he loved Joe Louis. But anyhow, I go on and on.
No, that's right on, Ray. And if you would like to send in your questions to Ray Mancini, the email address is boomboomroom570@gmail.com, boomboomroom570@gmail.com, and get your question into us. And, of course, you can always text Ray at 330-333-1570. Well, Ray, you got a couple of minutes here until your first guest comes on. What is your rant this week, my friend?
I'll tell you, my rant this week, Cornell, is about referees. I don't know what happened. Referees in the fights now. If a guy thinks he got hit low or got hit borderline, he goes down like he was shot, and they stop, and the referee walks over like, "Are you okay?" And they stop the fight. That when I was fighting, when the referee says, "Protect yourself at all times,"
Right.
that means he's the only one who could stop it. Not if you hit and I hit you a shot and you turn around and turn your back on me, I'm going to jump right on you.
Yeah.
But the referees now, they jump in between because the guy said he got hit low. Because he says so, don't make it so. And I'm telling you what, if I'm a fighter and I'm tired, I'm looking to look for a timeout. I'm going to act like I got hit low too. Mm-hmm. Referees, let these guys fight, man. And these referees who make themselves too much of the promotion. Too much of the fight.
Yeah.
Stay out of the way. If they're clinching, you get too many clinches, get out of the way. But if the referee tells you, as long as you got one hand free, you can punch. As long as you got one hand free. That's all you need is one hand free to keep punching. Don't jump in there too soon. Stay out of the way unless if they tie each other up, both hands are tied up. Great, get in there, break it up quick. But if one guy's still punching one hand, you got no business being in there. Mm-hmm. And quit bailing these guys out when they're tired or get hurt and they turn their back and act like they got hit low. Quit bailing them out. Maybe they ain't got the heart for it. Maybe they ain't got the stomach for it. If they ain't in shape, if they ain't ready, they get hurt, let them either count them out, give them a standing 8 count, or stop the fight. But quit bailing these guys out.
Look at the way your son is staring at you right now. He's scared to death. It's Ray's Rants right here on 570 WKBN. Ray, you got an interview on line 1.
I first met this gentleman in 1983 when I was fighting in New York. I was defending my title at Madison Square Garden, and my friend worked at the San Moritz Hotel, and we just developed a friendship. And through the years, I heard his name, and I seen him in a movie. I said, "Oh man, I know that guy." One of the best TV shows to me of all time on TV, NYPD Blue. He was an Emmy-nominated actor who played James Martinez. And then from there, he went on to very iconic roles in the remake of Adam Sandler's remake of The Longest Yard. He plays Brucey. He played Ronaldo, and I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry. He's done the Paul Bart films, Paul Bart Mall Cop, Here Comes the Boom. And now he's a recurring role on one of my favorite TV shows, Blue Bloods. But let me tell you, the film, to me, that made his bones, he made his bones, and was a little known film, but to me, one of the best films, called Federal Hill. I think it was 1995, 96. Nick, you can tell me when you get on. But, ladies and gentlemen, he comes from one of the great acting families in Hollywood right now. His brother John is an Academy Award nominated actor. But coming to the Boom Boom Room now, my dear friend and one of America's greatest acting talents, Nick Turturro. Nick, what's happening, my brother?
All right, man, that's fantastic. What an entrance! I've done radio shows with dubbed on the Fan with Francesa, and I've done with Dino Costa, this crazy guy that does a radio show. But, boy, nobody ever gave me an introduction like that, Ray. That was fantastic. I had the chills. Buddy.
Oh, well, it's the truth. I forgot. Here's what I tell you. We did an off-Broadway play in 1991 called Sit Down, Conversations with the Mob. And Sit Down was S-I-D-D-O-W-N. Sit down.
Right.
And you were
I got the poster in my living room.
I do too. And you were one of the guys kind enough when the writer and director of that, Sam Henry Cass, suggested my name. You said, oh, man, that'd be great, which I appreciate because, if you'd have said, no, you got no experience, whatever, I probably wouldn't have went, taking a shot on me.
We didn't really have a dressing room because we say off-Broadway, but it was like off-Broadway. We were like below sea level. We were at the bottom of a restaurant.
That's right, in the village, down in the village.
Little, dressing room, and not even a dressing room. It was nothing really. Like
it was a curtain.
Of a restaurant.
It was a curtain.
And, to take your shirt off and. I used to admire your body. I used to be like, man, Ray, look at that body, But I mean, in a beautiful way, not in a,
I appreciate that.
Kind of way.
I
Yeah,
appreciate
and you used to say, Ray, how do you get a body like that? And you'd be like, Nick, all my life. It's my life, Nick. So I just remember that V you had on the back.
My brother, thank you.
Yeah.
Hey,
I remember playing basketball against you one time. And I was playing basketball up in Mulholland. I said, let me see what this guy's got on the court. And I felt your power. I felt, that's what really got me. You were a good athlete, but I was like, holy mackerel, look, this guy's powerful. He's a fighter. He should be powerful, but I mean, I felt your power. Like you fronted me in front of the basket, and I was like, whoa, Ray.
Well, Nick, it's so good to talk to you.
We had a very infamous scene, a very great fight scene in One-Eye Jimmy, which I remember we were like trying to figure it out, trying to block it. And I remember telling you, Ray, we gotta mix it up. We gotta make this look like a messy but real fight. And it was people were cracked up. It was a very funny fight scene where I break my glasses and whatnot.
Yes, I remember that. It's a movie that came out in 1995. 98.
Yeah, one of them. Yeah.
It came out. We shot it in 1992, but it took about 4 years for a variety of reasons, 4 or 5 years to get released. When it did, it's become a cult classic. Everywhere I go, Nick, people say, "I saw you in The Search for One-Eye Jimmy. That's the greatest, funniest movie I ever saw." But Nick, here's what people don't understand. Listen to this cast. We shot this on less than $100,000. Less. You called on markers. Sam called, the writer, director, Sam Henry Cast called on markers. We all called on markers. Listen to this cast. I tell people, if this was a movie casted now by a studio, it would be almost $100 million. We had, you went on to star in TV and film. Holt McCallany, Holston had a wonderful stage in TV and actually film career. Mike Bottalucco, who played Jimmy Berluti in Private Practice. But listen to this cast. Your brother was doing quiz show at the time, if I remember. He was rehearsing quiz show. We got John for a couple days. Sam Jackson was doing Jurassic Park. He flew out to give us a weekend. We got your cousin, it's Aida, right?
Aida.
I want to mess up her name no more.
Yeah.
Aida came on. We had Jennifer Bills. Jennifer Bills, beautiful, came on.
Yeah.
But here's the people who said, the guy who played, Steve Buscemi. Steve was a co-star.
Don't forget, Steve Buscemi was hilarious.
Steve.
As one of the white trash
my
brothers.
God. Steve got done doing In the Soup. He won, I think, Best Actor at the Sundance Film Festival. This was his first film after. But here's
don't forget One-Eye Jimmy.
I'm just going to tell you, Nick. The guy who played One-Eye Jimmy, he had one scene at the end of the movie. It was a 5-minute scene, and to me, he stole the movie. And he's gone on to some. He stole. Sam Rockwell.
Yeah.
If everybody out there, he's one of the best indie actors out there. If anybody saw,
great.
The Way Out.
In fact, I think Holt brought him in.
I think you're right.
Holt's spot. Holt, I remember telling me, Holt, he's funny. He's like, Nick, Sam Rockwell, this is a great actor. And then I was like, okay. And then when I saw him in the movie, I was like, man, this guy's hilarious.
He played 5 minutes and he stole the movie. Now, he's gone out, like I said,
it can happen.
He's got, right, exactly. He's gone on to star in The Way Out.
And then, he did a movie with John. He did a movie about Davy Crockett.
Oh, my goodness.
One-Eye Jimmy. Well, it wasn't about Davy Crockett, but he played like a Davy Crockett guy. And it was one of his early starring roles with John in a little movie trying to remember the name of it. I can't remember the name now. My memory's going on me.
No,
But you know, I saw him recently at a premiere about a couple of years ago. The Seven Psychos, and he was excited to see me.
Oh, man.
And you know what he brings up?
What?
The Search for
One
One
Eye
Eye
Jimmy. Everybody.
So,
hey,
it was like it came out on Blu-ray. A lot of people
That's
don't
right.
know, but it came out on Blu-ray. And you know that movie. You're right. If that movie had the right publicity with that cast, people go insane. Like you know, today that movie was way before its time with the slapstick comedies
Right.
and everything. If it was promoted right or done, I mean. It's, you know, people would eat it up. They'd eat it up.
But it is out on Blu-ray. It is on DVD. It's called The Search for One Eye Jimmy. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to tell you. I'm not pushing it because I'm in it, but I'm telling you, it is one of the funniest movies. It's one of the best experiences of my life.
There's a scene where Ray is shooting at me in a car with a big gun. It looks like the size of a .357 Magnum, totally relaxed, and he's blasting from the other car chasing me. He's shooting the gun. David Caruso, who I was doing NYPD Bluewood, saw that scene, and he was peeing in his pants, literally, said to me, Nick, the scene where Mancini's blasting you with the gun, and then the next scene, we're having coffee. And then the Hulk goes, I thought these guys were mad at each other. I go, yeah, he was shooting at me, you know.
yeah, mad at each other.
I'm telling you. So ridiculous and so funny that, you know, you're right. There's people that come up, you know, everywhere. You know, even recently, somebody in a makeup trailer came up to me and said, you know, what's one of my favorite movies? The Search for One Eye Jimmy. And the funniest thing, remember the guy that shot the movie? And I showed up the first day off, you remember? And he had one eye. The guy who was the
cameraman
director of photography.
The cameraman.
Yeah.
Hey,
he had one eye.
Nick, that cameraman, and I can't think of his name. About a couple years later, he went off and did a movie of his own that he directed, and that was in Sundance as one of the best movies.
Right.
I said,
the
look
guy
at this.
who was playing Holt's sidekick, Lodge Kerrigan, his name was. I remember
Lodge
the name.
Kerrigan, you got it. Lodge Kerrigan, and he directed a movie that got great acclaim at Sundance. Oh
yeah,
man.
I don't know if he did anything else after that, but you're right. He got some acclaim for a movie. But the guy who was the DP, I forget his name, the actual DP, he's the guy that had the patch over his eye.
Oh, Jesus, man.
He was like talking out of his mouth, and I was like, this is hilarious. Like,
yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. I remember,
was it going to be in focus, you know?
Hey, Nick,
we had so much fun. I mean, we were in Red Hook, Brooklyn. People don't realize at that time Red Hook was like, now Red Hook, I hear, is making a comeback. Everybody's making a comeback. I need to make a comeback. But Red Hook was, you know, like people had gunshots. I mean, people shooting. I mean, it was a dangerous area. So we were over there, and people were going crazy over you, of course, Ray, because, you know, you're a fighter. You were a legend in the streets over there. When we were up and coming, a lot of people didn't even know who we were. But, you know, everywhere we went, people wanted to, you know, get Ray's autograph. And it was a great experience because I remember just the high, you know, of us going out in the street. We did those little plays in the basement. And then we went from the bowels of the basement to the street. And I remember we were eating, and I said, you know, we could make a movie, guys. And you said, yeah. Everybody was like, yeah. Those little movies were very special to me. You know, you never forget those kind of experiences because you were so hungry then. You know, when you're very hungry, you got that fire in your eyes, and you got the love of, you know, you're trying to do it. You're not even getting paid. It's like going, you know, sit down. That was a fantastic time.
It was.
I didn't get, you know, we didn't make my. I'll never forget sit down. I just remember, you know, eating after the performances. I remember your parents coming, and it was great. We could have made a little movie out of those three one acts.
Right, and you know,
it
Nick,
was really a lot of fun.
I would love. That's something I've talked to Sam about through the years, and he never made a move. But that's something we could do, and I would like to move forward with that. That's something we could do. Shoot that on a shoestring budget, and connect all three storylines, and you got a nice little movie.
You learn by doing. You know, you
that's
really
exactly
learn by.
right.
You could be in an acting class, but that's good.
Yeah, that's
but
a gym fighter.
Stay in the class your whole life.
Nick, that's like being a gym fighter. That's like guys that are great in the gym.
Right.
But you got to go. You have to have a
put
fight.
them in the ring.
That's right.
And you know, they never learn how to get out of the classroom. They were good in the gym, but they're not really good. You know, when it comes down to it, you've got to learn how to take it from the classroom because it's a different story. You can't bring your acting coach with you. I remember playing Sammy the Bull years later in a miniseries, and I don't want to say her name. I worked with her in Jungle Fever, and then she was playing my wife in this Witness to the Mob movie, and she had like an acting coach with her. And it was like I said, we're trying to do the scene now.
Right.
Now we're working. That
Right.
was, that's for the classroom.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Don't, come on, let's work here. We're not going to acting class here. This is different.
Right.
Now, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
You did your training. Now you're ready. You're in the fight. You can't go back to class. You're in the fight.
You found another a guy that loves you and puts you in all his films, Adam Sandler. He put The Longest Yard. I now pronounce you Chuck and Larry. I mean,
Yeah.
how did that come about?
Actually, I had saw a movie poster for The Longest Yard. I was in Tarzana, California. I was in this theater that's no longer there, and I saw this poster. And I remember, I was a fan of the old movies. I love Burt Reynolds.
Right.
I said, The Longest Yard. I seen the poster. This was before the movie was casted, or even, I guess they just came out with this poster. So I said, I need to look into that. I need to really. Now I didn't know Adam. I didn't know Sandler.
I see.
I knew this one guy, Frankie Severo, who you probably knew.
I know Frankie.
Who knew
Yes.
Adam.
I know Frankie. Yes.
And then John, and coincidentally, John did Mr. Deeds. And
I see. Okay.
John, convinced John was hilarious in Mr. Deeds. He convinced Adam to combine these two little parts, and he played the Spanish butler. And he had a nice experience working with Sandler. And I guess, Sandler really was always bringing in like great caliber talent to be in his movies.
Right.
But I heard, good things about Adam, that he was a good guy.
Right.
And he has all his friends around him, and so I had to audition for the movie. I didn't read for Adam. I read for his director. And then I know my brother pushed a little bit. He said, Nick's pretty funny,
Right.
And people didn't know. They said, yeah, this guy's he's did a lot of drama, but he's actually very funny. And it was a little part on paper, and he kept adding. I finally got the part. And then after the first scene, he was like, dude, man, you're a funny guy. You're really funny.
That's true.
And
You are.
a
Tell people
great
you are.
part, because it was like, there was nothing. Then when we were doing it in the screen, have Nick say this, have Nick say that. He kept handing me the ball, and I was like, wow. I went in there with like an idea. I had like this crazy idea about this little nutty guy, a crazy haircut. Then I almost broke my foot. I fell off this big guy, this black guy's back. I landed. I had a bone contusion. So throughout the movie, if you look at my face, I'm really like grimacing. I'm in a lot of pain.
Right.
So it added to like my insanity. And it added to the part. I swear to God. I mean, the truth of the matter is, they used to bring me out, because I was in so much pain. But it became a character now that kids are like obsessed with. I'm telling you, Ray, the movie came out in 2005, and I was talking to Adam about taking that character,
Brucey,
and spin him off into like a guy who can't leave the state of Texas, and it'd be a very funny idea.
That would be.
If we
That
could
would
use
be.
the name. I don't know the legality of it, but and then after that he hired me for another movie, and then I've done some of his off his other
that's great.
producing
That's
movies,
great.
like with Kevin James now coming out in Mall Cop 2. I'll be in that.
Right.
So I've got to know these comedians. It's funny, like people come and stop me in airports and they go, "You're a comedian, right, dude?" I go, "No, I'm not a comedian." I go, I've been in funny movies.
Right, but you do. Yeah. I tell people you're very, very good. You're a dramatic actor. That's what you studied. That's what you are.
Right.
But people don't understand. Great comedy comes from playing it straight.
Mm-hmm.
You know that, Nick? Complete comedy comes from playing it straight.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
You are
and
one of them guys.
You're grounded and you keep it real. Like even in the first season on Blue Blood, that was like the comic relief, and people didn't realize what I was doing.
Right.
They were like, "Wow, it was really funny." But it was funny. It was only funny because I made it real.
Right.
And that's when it's really funny.
You're right.
People don't understand that kind of humor. That kind of humor, it's not funny on the paper. It's not funny, ha ha.
No.
You understand what I'm saying, Ray? It's not like a sitcom where, okay, where's the joke?
Right.
The joke is in the joke. The joke is in the drama.
That's exactly right.
It's in the hysteria of something. It's in the realness. You could say something like I said something like you say, Ray, and I'm saying it straightforward, and people go, that's funny because just sometimes when a guy is having a conversation and he's dead serious and he's telling you something, you start cracking up. And my father was hilarious. he was out of his mind. You know, he was literally, he was hilarious. When I say hilarious, like as crazy as John is, I mean, wild as my brother. I mean, my father was on the job site, his eyeballs popping out of his head. He was an obsessed Italian contractor. And the guy, you know, when you saw him like in his most insane times, you could be dying laughing.
Right.
It was so real.
Right.
You know what I mean? You understand what I'm saying,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. I mean, that's what I was going to say. You said earlier, you alluded to what I wanted to say. One of my favorite new shows is Blue Bloods. I really like this show a lot. Really, it's been successful, and I really enjoy it. And I love seeing you on there. You know that you have a recurring character. And how did that come about?
That came about, actually, here was the funny thing was, I was in New York, and I was actually going to Boston. I was doing a lot of baseball stuff. I did this show, I Breed Baseball. I was obsessed with baseball and the Yankees. I did a great show for MLB Network that people that saw it wanted it to be a series. And I've been fiddling around with baseball, podcasts.
Sure.
Sort of my hobby. I coach. I was in New York, then I went to Boston, but I was actually in New York at one time. And they said, you got an audition today, and it's just for a guest spot. So I was like, guest spot, you know, it was called Reagan's Law. Should I go? Should I not go?
Right.
You know, and then I said, I better go. And then I almost couldn't find the building. So I almost gave up not going to the freaking audition. So something told me, you know what? You better find this freaking, it was in the West Village, find out where this thing is. So I went in and I read for it. It was just one scene. And, you know, sometimes when you read on tape, you never know. It's hit or miss. And I was in Boston. I went to the opening night. I think it was 2009, 2010, Yankees Red Sox. I was in Boston. And I'm on my way. I was with my family. They came up because I don't know, I did something. I did something for ESPN. Some round table thing. I was at a bar, casting flag, and across from Fenway. I love it. So anyway, they called me in the airport. They said, listen, you got to work tomorrow. They're going to cast you. I said, yeah, for what? They were like Blue Bloods, and no, not Blue Bloods, Reagan's Laws. Oh, that they want me? Yeah, and they're going to give me like $1,000 or something. I said, I can't do it for $1,000. Come on now, you know, give me like $5,000, I'll do it. So you know, I went, and I did one scene. I went back to my brother's house. I said, John, I'm coming over. I got to get up like in 3 hours. I got there like 3 in the morning. I had no sleep. I had memorized the freaking scene, and it was a good scene.
It's a great scene.
It was a really good pilot. I tell you, like a dynamite pilot. And the scene was like, you know, me and this kid, I'm in the diner, and I'm talking to him about, you know, hey, I know who you are, I know who your brother is. And I had some comedic moments in the scene, but they were like in a real way.
Right.
If you ever go back and watch the pilot and watch this one scene, it's terrific, the scene. So I did the scene. I was half asleep. Who knows? Maybe I just, you know, I played a lot of cops, and I just played it like I didn't give a hoot. I mean, that's how I felt, because I was like, I mean, to me, it was like, it's a one-day job. You know what I mean?
Sure.
One-day job. So people a couple of months later go, hey, I saw your pilot.
That's funny.
What pilot? What pilot? What are you talking about?
Right.
I didn't remember I did it. And they said, no, we saw your pilot. It's good.
Right.
You're good in it. And I said, what do you mean I'm good in it? They said, no. So I looked on the Internet, and I saw the coming attractions for this show. You know, Selleck is in it, and then Donnie Wahlberg, who I didn't know at the time. And I saw them using me in the promo.
Oh, that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
What's going on here? You know, I said, so I basically called them, and I said it was Robin and Mitch. They were producers from The Sopranos. They were a husband and wife team, and there's Leonard Goldberg. They liked me a lot, and they said, you know, we really liked what you did. Maybe we'll try using it. And I wound up doing about 40 episodes.
Oh, that's wonderful. Wow.
For one scene.
Wow.
So, you know, there's a lesson for anybody, like thinking, oh, I got one scene. It ain't nothing. Oh, I got one. You know what? It's always, you always got to, like, I don't care if it's one scene or 4 scenes. If you show up and you're memorable, if people remember you, that's the key.
You're
There's
right.
some people, they could be in a whole movie. I don't remember them. I go home, it's like McDonald's. I went to the bathroom, it's fast food. I don't remember them.
You're right.
But when I remember somebody, it could be one moment, Ray, and I say, hey, I remember you. I remember that
That's
guy.
That's right. You just said it.
That's what I would say. Never. You know, never. I know I'm talking too much, but
no.
Never,
you said that's
Nick.
That's one of the best acting classes. That's one of the best acting rules. You just said one scene. That's all you need is one scene, and people will remember it. As long as you're memorable. Nick, I don't mean to keep it running because I got to get ready to roll. But I want to ask you. I know we talked. You got an upcoming project that you're very involved in, very passionate about. called "Bless Me, Father." Give me the 2-minute version, because then we got to roll. I'm sorry, brother. I don't mean to cut you off. Now, 'cause I'm going to have you back. You're the best. I'm going to have you back.
Coming-of-age story set in the late 60s, goes into the late 70s, early 80s. A book by a fellow who wrote Your Life Story, his first book, Mark Kriegel, and basically a story about a dad and his 2 sons and sort of the ups and downs of what happens in their life. You know, there's the one kid who's the classic, you know, Johnny boy, kid who gets into a lot of trouble, challenges the dad who was an up-and-coming fighter, didn't make it as a fighter, didn't even make it that big as a wise guy, now is dealing with the death of his son, his eldest son, who threw himself off a building, and now trying to raise his youngest boy by making a man out of him by putting him in the ring and becoming a fighter and whatnot. And basically the movie centers around the kid, Nicky, who now has to deal with the death, supposedly, of his brother and all the secrets about what happened to his brother and his father and who his father really is and who he is as a man. And in a nutshell, it's a coming-of-age crime drama.
Wow.
A beautiful story, kind of hard to tell. There's a lot of little stories going on.
I understand.
But reminiscent of like the Bronx Tale meets The Outsiders.
Oh,
the best
great.
way I could describe it.
That's two great films.
Movie with a number of like 8 to 10 great, like every little part is good in the movie.
Right.
And obviously, you know, hopefully we're going to be doing it this spring. This summer, and I hope even you could be involved.
I was going to say, can I audition for that? Because that sounds like something might be up my alley.
Yes. You definitely are right for something in this, Ray, and it'd be great. I want to be a part of it.
I appreciate it.
Something I'm going to direct, and I've been with for a long time. I think it's going to be a good movie. I really, truly believe we got something special here.
If you're behind it, I'm sure it'll be a success, man. And believe me. My brother, pal. Nick Turturro, I can't thank you enough for your time.
My pleasure,
I got to get you back again because we got too many stories to tell, but not enough time right now.
Yeah,
but
anytime.
Nick, thank you again, my brother. Ladies and gentlemen, from the Boom Boom Room, let's thank Nick Turturro.
There is nothing better than supporting the Ray Boom Boom Mancini Foundation. Maria is at 330-559-8891. And, Ray, you have some new folks coming on board.
Yes, we got some new sponsors, and I can't thank them enough. First, my dear friend Ed Moransky and the Moransky Company. What Eddie's doing now in the valley here, Youngstown and Mahoning Valley, is incredible. He's just, you know, the hospital, Southwoods Hospital, and the great care that they give. It's state-of-the-art technology on top of everything. And, you know, if you stay at this hospital, the food, people always talk about hospital food, it's, you know, filet mignon, it's lobster tail. I mean, Eddie does it right. Eddie goes first class or he don't go. So I can't thank Ed Moransky and the Moransky Company for their help. And also my dear friend Mark and Don Constantini from Falcon Transport Company for their support. Can't thank you guys enough. I really appreciate you showing some love and helping out. We really thank you. And these guys, you know, they're the biggest. They're the biggest and the best, biggest in this area and one of the best in the country.
And they got the nicest trucks on the road.
Oh, man. And they do a fine job. You know, and Mark's such a good guy, and his father, Don. I mean, they're just such good people. And I really admire them and appreciate them back in the Boom Boom Room.
There you go. The Ray Boom Boom Mancini Foundation. Once again, Maria will answer all your calls. 330-559-8891. The Ray Boom Boom Mancini Foundation presents the Boom Boom Room right here on 570 WKBN.
And bang, bang. You know, we've had a couple of big weekends of boxing over the last 2 weeks, and I think we should, since we are a boxing show, we should probably talk about some of that.
Ray, you've been salivating, man, the fights that have occurred the last couple of weekends. Give us a little recap.
Well, first of all, on Saturday, March 7th, was the debut of the PBC on NBC, the premier boxing channel by Al Heyman, the one we've talked about for a while now. Two big fights. First, we had Adrian Broner fighting John Molina, and what I thought was, on paper, a terrific matchup. of styles and fighters, but it wound up being a stinking fight. I thought I just thought it was boring. I think it was a case of one guy did nothing, the other guy did less.
As you can tell, Ray is sugarcoating here.
Yes, they say that's a fight one guy's scared and the other's glad of it. Broner come forward, Molina didn't do anything, and I thought. Molina was a perfect style. He usually comes forward, but he looked like the deer caught in the headlights. He absolutely got overwhelmed by the lights, and he was stiff, and he froze, and he didn't do anything until throw some big, wide right hands late in the fight. But other than that, and they missed a mark by, he tried to take a page out of the Marcos Maidana playbook when he tried to throw that overhand right that Maidana did to knock out Broner. But Broner saw it from a mile away and got out of the way, and it just was a stinking fight. He clearly won the decision. The main event was a matchup, again, on paper, like a great matchup. Robert Guerrero fighting Keith Thurman. Now, Keith Thurman is one of the biggest punchers in the division.
You love that guy.
I really do. Big puncher. But again, that fight for 7 rounds was a boring fight. Nothing spectacular. 2 guys are standing in front of each other, kind of shucking and jiving. And then the 8th round, Keith Thurman unloaded his power, which we were waiting for the first 7 rounds to see. And he tapped Robert Guerrero's chin, dropped him, and Guerrero went down. And I didn't think he was get up, man.
Yeah.
But he got up at the count of 6. He got up, and I got to tell you, for the last 4 rounds, if it wasn't for Robert Guerrero, there was really no fight. But Robert Guerrero showed a lot of character, come back, a lot of heart, and made the last 4 rounds exciting, very exciting. He lost the decision, but had the people on their feet at the end.
Yes.
I think he saved that whole card.
Yes.
He saved it, the whole show. And, I read where some people are praising it. One writer wrote, though, Guerrero Thurman was on the par of Leonard Duran 1.
I read the same thing.
Oh, my God. Hagler Hearns on our prior Arguello 1.
One of the greatest fights they've ever seen in their lifetime.
I said, how many fights did this guy have to be punch drunk and to be that delusional? This guy, what is he talking about, man? Is he on El Heyman's payroll because to say some stupid stuff like that? It was a good show, not a great show. The Thurman-Guerrero fight was a good fight, not a great fight. And if it wasn't for the last 4 rounds, it was another stinking fight. It was just okay.
So the premiere, what would you give it a grade?
I'd give it a grade of a B. Let's say B.
Okay.
Because the last 4 rounds.
All right.
So here's the other thing I have to say. There was a lot of flash, very little substance with the opening, how the fighters come into the ring. And now they're trying to mirror MMA entrances where the fighters get announced, they walk down. It's very generic. Mm-hmm. People, if you remember, the great thing about the fight game, when people's entrances were some of the biggest, that was a big part of the game too. A fighter's entrance with his team around him. Yeah. Ali, Frazier, Ray Leonard, Duran.
Yeah. Ray Mancini.
When they're playing Boom Boom Out Going Lights, we are a pump, my whole team.
Right.
That's part of the excitement. That's part of the show, from a boxing show.
I've said to you many a times, when you walked into the ring at Molenkoff Stadium, my goodness.
What a great event.
I mean, that's what people want to see.
Yeah, man. To have their corner people and their whole entourage waiting in the ring, and they get announced. They were very generic. Mm-hmm. I give that a D.
Whoa.
That was terrible. That they got to do something to make it exciting. So that fight overall, like I said, I give it a C plus, maybe a B, B minus. Okay. Overall. Now, this past Friday the 13th.
Yes.
They had a good fight on Spike Television. Josecito Lopez versus Andre Berto. Again, a good fight of 2 guys that fought for the world title, 2 guys that were contenders on the downside. So it made for a very good fight. Good action-packed fight. Josecito Lopez was winning the fight from what I see most of the fight, but he got caught and he got dropped twice by Berto. And I thought, it hurt him, got up, but kid's got a lot of heart, got up, and they stopped the fight a little premature in my book. And, of course, Josecito Lopez lost the fight. It was a 6-round stoppage. Andre Berto got the win. I don't know what that means for him, though. He's a great kid with a lot of heart, but he ain't got the talent anymore. He ain't got the
Right.
goods. So I don't know what that means, but it was a great fight. That was a good fight. Spike TV, that was a very good fight with the two guys, like I said, on the same skill level on the downside. And Jose Berto.
And it was a good presentation.
Yes, and
Yeah.
he stopped Josecito Lopez in the 6th round. But then this past Saturday night, Killer Kovalov, probably the premier light heavyweight in the world, fighting a past world champion in Jean Pascal. In Pascal's hometown of Montreal. One thing I love about Kovalev, he's been known as the road warrior. He goes in everyone's backyard
Yeah.
and beats these guys and
Yeah.
knocks them dead.
Yeah.
And he went in there and he just beat up on Pascal. Pascal showed a lot of heart, but Pascal got beat up. Kovalov, he dropped him, he dropped him a couple times in the 3rd round, I believe in the 6th round, and finally he stopped him in the 8th round. So an 8th round KO for Sergey Kovalov, the road warrior. He went into Montreal, Pascal's backyard, and just beat him up like he was supposed to.
That was Boom Boom's boxing recap right here on 570 WKBN.
We return to the Boom Boom Room with Ray Mancini. Interview line 2.
She's played such iconic figures on television and in film. Laverne and Shirley. She's Cali born and bred. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Cindy Williams. Cindy, I can't thank you enough for coming. How was that? How was that intro? Not bad, no?
Oh, not bad at all. Would you do it again?
Now, you're from Van Nuys, California. You went to Birmingham High School. Now, I've heard of Birmingham because, I was out there for 30 years, and Birmingham had a very successful sports program there, and a lot of good names come from Van Nuys Birmingham High School.
Yes, they do. You'll have to remind me, but I just remember the Hayhoe brothers and Craig Schustrick and a lot of we were all city football 3 years in a row while I was there, and the swim team and baseball.
Wow.
And just incredible athletic program.
Now, it says that you also went to school with Sally Field and Mike Ovitz. Now, were they
with Mike Ovitz? Yes, absolutely.
Sally Field went to Birmingham High School too?
Sally Field,
wow.
Yes. We were in theater arts together.
Wow. I didn't realize that. Wow, that's something. I mean, people who don't know Southern California, Birmingham High School, Van Nuys is over in as they call it, the valley, over the hill in the valley. But it's actually, it wasn't American Graffiti shot in the valley?
No. American Graffiti was shot in a valley. It was shot in Modesto.
Oh,
well, it was shot in,
Little north, up north.
Up north.
Yeah.
In Northern California.
Do you remember any specific fight that you went to that you remember or watched for the first time that you remember specifically?
Yes, I do. But it was Tony Danza. But I actually think, Ray, that I saw him in Madison Square Garden with Penny. I think he fought in Madison Square Garden.
He did. He did fight in Madison Square Garden a few times. You're absolutely right. That's where you saw him in New York. Okay.
And that's I believe that's where I saw him fight, and it was pretty thrilling. And I was a big fight fan, and I love the sport, but it's gotten into other realms. Well, with the Ultimate Fight, and all of that. What do you think about that?
Well, Cindy, I'll tell you, I think Ultimate the MMA, mixed martial arts and Ultimate Fighting, they're wonderful athletes. And I've helped train some guys there. I helped train some guys in LA with their hands. I've even trained Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for 12 years. And it's great for the street, for self-defense, And like I said, I've helped some of these guys with their hands, and they're great athletes. But it's not the same. It hasn't been accepted. It hasn't crossed over like boxing has. For whatever reason, there's a certain... Boxing is considered a noble art. MMA.
It is a noble art. I mean, it's a beautiful art to watch because of the balance in it and the it's the movement in it and it's the skill in it. It's beautiful to watch.
Right.
And whereas the ultimate fighting is really down and dirty.
Right, it is. You're absolutely right.
mean, and not that it's, not a great sport with great athletes and great athletic and takes great athletic agility, but boxing is like ballet in a way. I mean, I don't want to put it on the same,
I know what you mean.
But it is.
Yes.
The movement and for me, the counterbalance and everything. That's part of the thrill of it. I worked with Gene Kelly.
Wow.
And who, is a brilliant dancer, but he was also athletic, and his moves, and great boxers are great dancers, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I agree.
They're athletic dancers, and they have those movements, and you're right about, well, of course you're right. What am I saying?
No, but
about the feet.
That's
about
right.
About the feet and the movement, but it takes there's a thought process that I'm fascinated with boxing, and boxers, and it's it's an intelligent sport,
sure.
and it just maybe because Laverne and Shirley was a physical show, and because both Penny and I have that in us, and we understand that rhythm of move and counter move, and that's why both of us are fans like that, because we understand that, and that timing, and like I said before, the thought process of it, and it's a beautiful thing to watch.
The same thing it takes to be a good fighter or a good actor, it takes to be a good fighter in this respect. When you're doing a scene, you got to block out the cameraman, the crew, and the scene is between you and the other actor. In boxing, you have to block out the crowd, block out the referee. It's just you and the other fighter. And I tell people the ebb and flow of a great scene between two actors is also like the ebb and flow of two fighters. You throw a line, I counter you with a line. You throw another line, I counter you. It's the same thing with fighters. You hit me with a good shot, I counter you with a good shot. And back and forth.
Well, it's two things at once. It's the concentration, and it's letting go of the concentration. It's both those things. It's in that groove between the two things. It's zen. It's
a good way. It's a good way to put it. Yeah.
You have to absolutely be disciplined and be in that rhythm, and you have to let it go. And because you don't know when you're going to get beat, you don't know when you've got to move with the universe. That it's such an intelligent sport. I mean, you have to be. It's such an intelligent sport.
I appreciate
on
that.
so many levels.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Most people think fighters are stupid. That's the typical, that's the old
You're
cliche.
Such a smart man.
Yeah, I'd like to think so. But Cindy, it's funny. It's funny because what you were saying earlier, a lot of people don't know, and we almost got you and Penny together on the show because I know you stay in touch with each other, and you, like you said, she's a big fight fan.
Maybe we'll get to do that.
Oh, that'd be wonderful.
I'm sure she'd love to just talk to you herself.
Oh, I'd appreciate that. She was she'd be wonderful because you auditioned for her brother. Her people understand. Her brother, Gary Marshall, iconic TV producer, was the producer of Happy Days and producer of Laverne and Shirley, as well as other shows. When you and Penny, you auditioned for Happy Days, was it supposed to be just a 1 or 2 episode arc, or is it just one time?
Well, we were just supposed to come on and be girls who date the fleet on a Happy Days episode, and be Fonzie and Ronnie Richie's dates.
I see.
And so we came on and we did it. We were writing together at the time. We were writing partners in real life.
Oh, real life.
And
I did not realize
Gary,
that.
Gary asked us, So Gary asked us, remember that thing, Real Life? So we came on to play those characters for just for the one episode on Happy Days. Went back to our writing job, and then next thing we knew, they called us and said, the network would love to do a spinoff.
Wow.
We didn't even know what a spinoff was.
Right. Wow.
And so then they picked up 4 shows, and we started playing the characters. They wrote them on Happy Days to present the characters, and then they took us off onto our own show. And on the first show, I knocked Richie out on the first episode of Laverne and Shirley on the crossover show. I knocked him out
Oh,
inadvertently.
inadvertently, of course. Can't thank enough for your time. You've been, like I said, when I was in high school, I had such a crush, and now I got actually to get to talk to you. Now I can't wait when I come out there to actually meet you face to face. You're so kind to give me.
What a compliment. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you. May I say it? Boom, boom. Thank you.
Thank you
so much.
Again, Cindy Williams, Shirley. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.
That was Cindy Williams with Ray Boom Boom Mancini right here on the Boom Boom Room, 570 WKBN. Ray, where does the time go, man? We ran out of time here.
Oh, time flies when you're having fun, baby.
Ray, we are looking forward to another edition of the Boom Boom Room next week, and I heard through the grapevine that you'll bring it in George Foreman.
There's a very good chance. Yeah, we're gonna get George on. I'm saying there's a good chance only because George, you got to pigeonhole him, but right now he's committed, and so I'm excited because Big George, man, he's an entertaining guy. He's America's guest, so I'm looking forward to that.
The Boom Boom Room next week right here on 570 WKBN.
Boom, 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 boom. How, 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 how. Hey, hey. Come on home, baby. Oh, come on home. Oh, come on home, baby. I love you. I love you. Come on. Come on, come on. Oh, come on home. Come on. I love you. Oh. Look out! The voice of Youngstown, Warren, Sharon and Newcastle too. We're talking, you're listening to 570 WKBN. WKBN.
You've walked through 18 open houses. Your feet hurt and your head is buzzing. Living in a van is starting to sound strangely appealing. But then you hear it. The sound of hope. Of Zillow. You glance at your phone to see a 3-bedroom Craftsman in the right school district. It's perfect, and it just showed up on your phone. Like magic. So sign up for mobile alerts, and we'll send you homes that fit your criteria when they hit the market. And to think, you wanted to live in a van. Zillow. Find your way home.
Do you run a small business? Do you want it to grow? Well, then don't let your business slow down or shut down because you lost your computer files. Get Carbonite and your files will be backed up to the cloud automatically. No matter how many computers, servers, or external drives you have, Carbonite has an affordable plan. Start a free trial today at Carbonite.com. No credit card required. Use offer code BACKITUP and get 2 free bonus months with purchase. Carbonite.com. Offer code BACKITUP.
Hey, Casey, where can I get a good price on a car?
Get your best price and don't go wrong. Lowest price on top.com. Get your best price and don't go wrong. Lowest price on top.com.
The voice of Youngstown, Warren, Sharon and Newcastle too. We're talking, you're listening to 570 WKBN. WKBN.
This is Youngstown State University women's basketball presented by the Mercy Health Foundation, Mahoning Valley. Penguins basketball also brought to you by participating local State Farm insurance agents. Belleria Pizza and Italian Restaurants. Selling taste, one bite at a time. Creekside Fitness and Health Center. Curbstone Coaches. Western Reserve Transit Authority. The Center for Women. MS Consultants Incorporated. The YWCA Youngstown and University Electric. YSU basketball broadcast also courtesy of ASECU. It's where where you belong. Bryant Heating